Hi, and welcome to the Fire Mountain Gems and Beads Jewelry Making Studio. I'm Lisa Pavelka, and today I'd like to show you how easy it is to give a glass-like finish to any flat or slightly curved surface that doesn't have a bezel wall to hold a resin in place. We're going to start with this lovely iridescent dichroic-esque looking leaf that I made with 2-part Apoxie Sculpt resin clay. That's an air dry product. You can learn how I made that using my foils, my embossing cutters, and the Apoxie Sculpt by visiting my tutorial on the faux dichroic leaf. Here I've got one that's already been done with the Magic-Glos resin. This is a 1-part resin. It's unique because unlike other resins that have 2 parts and have an odor and are a bit toxic, this is no odor, it's non-toxic for handling, and it's not going to cure until you're ready for it to cure. It cures in 5 to 10 minutes under direct sunlight. That means outdoors, not your windowsill, or under a long wave UV lamp. So those grow lights and reptile bulbs that may say long wave probably won't cure the product. So you want to make sure it's a long wave UV lamp to cure it if you're going to cure indoors. And it will hold a bead. It doesn't spread everywhere unless you add too much. A bezel wall will actually hold it in quite nicely, but you might create a piece like this and want it to look like a piece of dichroic glass. So let's take a look at how we did that. So I have a leaf here that we're going to set onto a cure surface. Now at home, I recommend that your cure surface is a small mirror or ceramic tile, but the mirror would reflect funny here. So we just are using a plastic card. But it's better to work on a mirror or tile because if you add too much product and you do have a little spillage, it's very easy to clean up with an old wallpaper blade or razor blade. Just be very careful if you need to do that. What I did was I put my finished and hardened leaf on a piece of scrap polymer clay. So even if you don't work with clay, and I hope eventually you will, you want to get some because you want to make a pedestal. Now the pedestal should be smaller than the piece that you're putting the resin on because you don't want any clay showing out. Using it on a cure surface, like a small craft mirror or tile, does many, many things. If you were to carry your piece out to the sun, this might happen. So right now we've stabilized it by pressing it down on the clay, and that's one advantage. The other is if you add too much, the product will flow underneath the edges. Now, unfortunately, you've wasted a few drops. It's not, the end of the world, but you can clean up your piece and still have it look just as good as new once you've cured it. Another advantage is you might not have a table that's sitting level, or perhaps your floor isn't even level. You could be in an older house that experienced some settling. So what I'm going to do is start by adding a few drops, and again, I didn't have to do any mixing. There's no odor. And it's got a bit of a control tip and flow. So what I'm looking at for now is adding less than I think I need. I always start that way. And I watch for the way it flows. If it's pooling evenly, then your surface is level. If you see it all moving to one side, it's very easy to go in there with a toothpick or skewer, or here I'm using a needle tool, and you can just go ahead and level it off because of the clay underneath. So it's always easy, just start with less than you need because it's always easy to add more, but it's definitely hard to take it away if you add too much. And on an open-sided piece, no matter how much you add, this first layer is probably going to pull away from the edges. The reason for that is this product is self-leveling, but it's designed to dome. If you pour it inside a bezel wall and you bring it right up to the top edge of that bezel wall, it's going to form a flat-like lens. But if you carry it even higher, it's going to form a lovely, nice, rounded dome like a cabochon effect. So I'm adding just a few more drops in here. And this bottle will probably do, I would say, anywhere from maybe about 10 to 16 leaves just like this, maybe even more. So a little bit goes a long way. So here's the other advantage to working on a cure surface, like a tile or a mirror, is you want to ensure that you're rotating it as you spread the product around, because you want to make sure that you're getting all the edges up to any edge or corner. Now I can already see it pulling in, and that's what it's going to do, especially on a flat surface. There's instructions that come with the product that explain this. You can also check for the written tips that are available on the firemountaingems.com website that will accompany this tutorial. Now, bubbles. Bubbles aren't a big problem with this product, but if you pour it out real fast, you might trap some air, or by spreading it around, you might trap a little air. But the bubbles are generally on or near the surface on a thin layer. So all you have to do is take a butane torch, and you can just swoop over it with 1 second. Just always be sure that any loose hair clothing are pulled back and you're not standing directly over the torch. If you do it for longer than 1 second, you're doing it too long. And then you're going to put it outside in the sun or under the long wave UV lamp for about 5 minutes. It's going to be rock hard on top in just that short period of time, but it could still be jelly soft underneath for up to an hour. But I will talk about that in a second. I'm going to set this piece aside, and let's take one that I cured just a few minutes ago, and it's rock hard. But if you can see, if you look around the edges here, you might see a little of the edges are exposed. Now, some people think that they can fix that just by pouring the Magic-Glos around the outer edge. You're probably just going to end up spilling it over the edge. It's a very easy thing to fill in. On open, flat-sided pieces of clay or other flat surfaces that you might want to cover, it usually takes 2 to 3 thin layers, curing between each layer until you fill in that outside gap. So what happens is, if you just try to fill in the outside edge, what you're going to get is an edge that looks like this. To get the edge that looks like this, we always add the product from the center of whatever you're coating. Doesn't matter what it is. Rotate it, and again, adding less than you think you need. I can't stress that enough. And spreading it around, and if I think I can use more, I'm going to add it from the middle. So spreading, spreading, spreading. Now, the second layer usually will cover any of those exposed edges, but sometimes you need another third layer, so you don't want to glop on a second layer in case you need to come back and do a third layer. But it'll hold a bead with that nice round edge, and there is a point where you can add too much and it can overflow. But I want you to watch this. I'm gonna live a little dangerously here. Now, you may notice I'm using my needle tool to use this instead of a disposable item like a toothpick. This cleans up with soap and water or a baby wipe. But once it's cured, it's rock hard, but it's not brittle, and it will also be waterproof. So I make rings and jewelry all the time, and I wash my hands, and it doesn't damage it at all. It won't get goopy or foggy over time and needs no additional sealing. So this looks good, and I'm going to raise it up a little. It might be a little hard to see, but I've got a lovely, nice, rounded cabochon surface on here, and into the light it goes. In 5 to 10 minutes, it's going to be rock hard on top. But if you want to do any type of carving, drilling, or manipulation to it, you're going to wait for another hour after the 5 or 10 minutes. Leaving it in the sun or the light isn't going to be good for that long because it can begin to yellow. You don't need more than 5 to 10 minutes. But once you leave it alone for an hour, it continues to cure all by itself, even in the absence of UV light. And then you can come in to your finished piece, and what I've done here is drill a hole at the top and the bottom. You can use a hand drill, it carves very easily, or a Fordham handpiece or a Dremel tool, anything you have for making holes. Or you can drill even into the surface and add something like this Swarovski Elements Chaton crystal. I just filled it halfway full with a tiny drop of Magic-Glos, cured it, and it glued that crystal right into place. And that's how easy it is to get a faux dichroic look on pieces that you've coated with clay. Thank you so much for joining me at the Fire Mountain Gems and Beads Jewelry Making Studio. For more tips, tricks, tutorials, and how-tos, visit us on the internet at firemountaingems.com.